Discover 6 incredible habits that transform a mature woman into an irresistible force revealed. Clara stood in the warm glow of her kitchen, cradling a mixing bowl that felt heavier than her heart. The scent of vanilla wafted through the air, a reminder of endless dreams simmering just out of reach. At 48, the town of Maplewood felt small and suffocating. Life had revolved around her children for so long, it was hard to remember who Clara was before motherhood consumed her. As she whisked batter, an ad popped up on her laptop screen, igniting a spark deep within her. Discover 6 incredible habits that transform a mature woman into an irresistible force revealed. Could she really transform? Tears brimmed in her eyes as she envisioned a bakery, each loaf of bread and pastry a piece of her heart. Years of selfless love felt like a smothering quilt over her aspirations. Would it be selfish to weave her own happiness into the fabric of their lives? Pride washed over her as she imagined sending her youngest off to college, but panic bubbled at the thought of an empty nest, with only her dreams left unfulfilled. Her daily routine soon found space for change. She joined an online group of women sharing stories of their own journeys. They spoke boldly of empowerment, dreams, and vulnerability. Clara felt alive for the first time in decades. She began to carve out time for herself, planning and setting those daunting goals. The whispers in her head faded as hope pulled her forward, but Maplewood was a place where gossip traveled like wildfire. Friends who once embraced her were now judging her selfishness for seeking something beyond the home. Why rock the boat when the kids need you? They murmured over coffee. A tight knot formed in Clara's chest, daring her to break free from decades of conformity. Who had she become? She clenched her fists, refusing to allow generations of belief to dictate her path anymore. With newfound resolve, Clara began planning an event to promote her bakery concept, inviting women of all backgrounds. Yet the resistance from the community was palpable. Her good friend, Louise, confronted her, saying, "You're chasing a dream when you should be home." The weight of expectation clung to Clara like a shadow. Then, as if the universe was testing her resolve, Clara faced a shocking health scare, a sudden pain that landed her in a hospital bed, alone and freezing beneath stark white sheets. The fluorescent lights buzzed, cold and sterile, as she reconsidered her choices. The heart monitor beat steadily, but doubts flooded in like a tidal wave. What if she never had the chance to live the life she dreamed of? Would her children forgive her if she pursued her own happiness? In that moment, the question hung heavy in the air: was it too late for transformation, or could she redefine her essence beyond motherhood? The bustling world of Maplewood felt miles away, and Clara found herself at a crossroads. Could she muster the strength to fight back? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Clara lay watching the rhythm of her breath, determination curling around her heart. She envisioned her bakery a sanctuary for women like her, a place to laugh, cry, and rise together. As the questions swirled in her mind, she felt a flicker of hope amidst the turmoil. What would it take to achieve her dreams? Is it possible to mend the rifts she faced, both within and without? With uncertainty lingering, the road ahead darkened, wrapping her in doubt, but Clara was ready to find the light. The challenges ahead would test her, but what lay on the other side was worth every struggle. The days blurred together after Clara's hospital visit, but one thing was clear: she was alive. And for the first time in a long while, Clara craved to feel more than the mundane routine she had cocooned herself in. Each morning, she woke with the sun, and it illuminated a newfound purpose. No more hiding in the shadows of doubt or societal expectations. Today was the day to reclaim her identity. She rose, dressed carefully, and looked in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back at her. The tired eyes transformed into windows of possibility. Clara felt a spark of determination. Maybe it really wasn't too late. After breakfast, she sat down at her kitchen table with a notebook. Her heart raced as she drew up plans for her bakery. She wanted more than just pastries, she wanted it to be a hub for connections, dreams, and empowerment. Clara brainstormed names, each one peeling back layers of who she had been and who she was becoming. Flower Freedom, she mused out loud, a smile creeping on her face. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message from her support group. Join us for a meeting this Friday. Bring your dreams. The enthusiasm in the message washed over her like a warm wave. Without hesitation, Clara typed a reply, "I'd love to share my vision." That Friday brought a sense of nervous excitement. As she entered the local community center where they met, the air crackled with energy and hope. Women of all ages laughed and hugged, their conversations flowing like the coffee they poured. Clara felt out of place but determined. When it was her turn to speak, she stood tall. "I want to create a bakery not just for pastries, but as a space where women can dream together, share stories, and support one another." It started as a whisper but grew stronger as she spoke. "I want us to thrive." The room fell silent, eyes locked onto her. Finally, a woman a few seats back raised her hand, "That's incredible. I'm a graphic designer, I'd love to help with your branding." Clara's heart fluttered. What began as an idea now felt like something real, tangible, and infused with community spirit. As the meeting wrapped up, several women surrounded her, offering help and encouragement. Clara's heart swelled. Louise approached her, tension evident in her expression. Clara braced herself, unsure of what to expect. "I've been thinking," Louise began, her voice softer than usual. "I know I've pushed back against your dreams. But maybe I was wrong. You deserve this." The warmth of Louise's words melted away the last remnants of doubt in Clara's heart. Knowing she had the support of even her biggest critic fueled her desire. By the end of that evening, ambitious plans shimmered before her, propelling Clara towards action. They exchanged numbers, and Clara felt alive in a way she hadn't experienced for years. There was hope, a shared vision that united them all. But as she stepped out into the crisp evening air, a nagging worry tugged at her heart. What if the town didn't embrace her vision? What if her past convictions came rushing back? Reality gripped her more fiercely than the excitement. The path won't be easy, Clara thought, but nothing worth having ever is. Courage surged within her. She was ready, but was the world prepared for the change she sought to create? The next morning, as dawn broke, Clara opened her window to let the fresh air in. The smell of possibility filled her lungs, yet a shadow lingered outside. Would Maplewood ever welcome her dream? With renewed determination, she grabbed her notebook and penned a plan for the bakery's launch, aware of the challenges waiting just around the corner. In the midst of this newfound hope, Clara felt as if she was standing on a precipice. Transformation was possible, but at what cost? Did she have the strength to face the storms brewing ahead, both within and around her? The adventure was only beginning, and uncertainty whispered that her greatest challenge was still to come. Clara spent the following days buried in thoughts and plans. Each morning felt fresh, filled with the scent of opportunity. She woke early, often racing through her ideas, jotting down notes on everything from flavors she wanted to experiment with to the kind of atmosphere she envisioned in her bakery. With each sketch of ideas drawn on a napkin or the back of an envelope, her confidence grew. It was exhilarating but terrifying. Clara soon realized that her dream wasn't just about pastries, it was about building a community, breaking the silence that often enveloped women's struggles. Her heart raced whenever she thought about it, but with the excitement came the pressure. As she strutted through the streets of Maplewood, a thin veil of anxiety cloaked her. Would people welcome her? With every corner she turned, doubt crept back into her mind. whispering reminders of her past disappointments. What if this is just another failed attempt? It taunted. What if you let everyone down? These thoughts plagued her especially on the 2 days leading up to the bakery's unveiling. Clara could barely concentrate. She found herself staring at the flour-covered counter in her kitchen, captivated yet paralyzed. She fought against the waves of doubt, pressing on with her preparations. Finally, the day of the launch arrived, and Clara awoke to the sound of birds chirping. It felt like a sign of renewal. She quickly dressed, her outfit a mix between casual and sophisticated, embodying her hope for the day ahead. When she stepped into the world, the sun shone brightly, as if cheering her on. At the community center, Clara transformed the rented space into a cozy haven. Warm colors decorated the walls, while the smell of baked goods wafted through the air. She arranged small tables with invitations for women to share their stories. Even the pastries were carefully crafted. Each cupcake, each loaf of bread, was a reflection of her journey from fear to belief. The stakes felt monumental as women began to trickle in. Clara's heart raced. She greeted each one with a smile, filled with gratitude and nervousness. They talked, laughed, and shared snippets of their lives. Her vision began to morph into reality, nourishing the vibrant energy surrounding her. The chatter momentarily fell silent as Clara stepped forward to address the room. With shaking hands but a steady voice, she shared her journey, every twist and turn that led her to this moment. As she spoke, she could feel the room lean in closer, captivated. "This bakery," she said, "isn't just about pastries. It's for all of us to find our voices, to uplift each other, and to dream together." As she scanned the faces before her, Clara saw tears and smiles intertwined. The warmth of connection grew, filling the space with electric energy. The women started to cheer, voices blending together in a chorus of support. "Yes." A voice called out. "We're here for it." But just as the session started to flow, Clara's heart plunged. She noticed a familiar face in the crowd, Megan, her childhood friend, who had been the one person who believed she wouldn't succeed back then. The thought rattled Clara. Could she truly embrace this dream knowing Megan's doubts? As the laughter swelled, the discomfort of that moment loomed larger. Would Clara be able to continue growing, even with uncertainty hanging in the air? Could she face Megan with strength, or would the past swallow her whole, pulling her back into the shadows? The bakery's journey was still unfolding, filled with sweet possibilities. But shadows of the past and the uncertainty of the future loomed like dark clouds, ever present. What would Clara do? Would her dreams survive under the weight of old fears, or would she rise above it all to embrace the new chapter that awaited her? Clara felt the warmth of the women around her, but the moment her gaze lingered on Megan, a chill coursed through her veins. Megan's expression was unreadable. What was she thinking? Memories of their childhood flashed before Clara's eyes, playful days, dreams shared, but also, disappointments etched into their story. "Megan," Clara whispered under her breath, surprised how one name could unleash a storm of apprehension. She tried to shake it off and focus on the laughter rising around her, but the unease festered. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, but Clara felt like a spinning top, wobbling. She couldn't let the shadows of her past dictate her moment now. Gulping down her doubts, she took a deep breath, focusing on the shared joy instead. The women kept talking about dreams for their own futures, sharing laughter over pastries. They were here for one another. Just as Clara was about to dive back into the conversation, she noticed Megan rise from her seat. The room grew silent again, all eyes on the woman who had once comforted Clara in her darkest days. With every step Megan took towards her, Clara's heart pounded louder. What would she say? "Clara," Megan started, her voice wavering but steady. "I know you remember our talks, how you'd never have the confidence to do something like this." A wave of tension swept through Clara's body, a shared history tethering her in place. "Yes," Clara replied, her voice softer than she intended. "But I'm here now." Megan nodded, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "I was wrong. You didn't just dream. You made it real." A murmur of agreement rose from the women around them, creating a layer of support that blanketed the moment. Clara felt warmth flood her chest. Maybe she could rise above the past. Maybe she was already doing it. "I came here to say how proud I am of you," Megan said, emotion spilling into her voice. "You've built a space for us to connect. I want to be a part of this." Clara's heart swelled. The fear in her chest began to loosen its grip, replaced with the thrill of acceptance, the possibility of growth. "You're welcome anytime," she replied, feeling the genuine weight of her words. As they embraced, the room erupted into applause. Cheers rang out, lifting Clara higher. It felt like an awakening. For every woman there, for every past disappointment, for every fear that kept them suspended in silence, this was a moment of shared resilience. With laughter echoing in her ears, Clara stood at the center of this newfound sisterhood. A single thought pierced through the joy: this bakery could be more than pastries. It was a platform for every story, for every voice that yearned to be heard. But as the celebration continued, a sudden realization struck Clara. She had to confront her own voice more directly, not just in pastries but in her life. What truth had she yet to uncover for herself? This journey was far from over. Meeting a kaleidoscope of emotions in those participating, Clara felt the weight of expectation but also an invigorating sense of purpose. Would she be able to not only build this community but also fully embrace the journey toward her own authenticity? The question loomed large, shading the light that had ignited within her heart. What challenges awaited her as she ventured deeper into her dream and closer to her true self? Clara's journey was just beginning, and it promised both complications and incredible revelations. The crowd cheered, but deep down, Clara knew there were still uncharted territories to explore. Would courage guide her through the next phase, or would the fears of yesterday creep back in, whispering doubts of their own? The moment Clara stepped back from the embrace with Megan, the applause still ringing in her ears, she felt a strange mix of exhilaration and anxiety. The bakery, once just a dream nestled in her heart, was now a living, breathing space filled with laughter and shared stories. Yet, with the sweetness of the pastries came a bitter undercurrent. What about her dreams? What did she truly want beyond creating this community? As her friends chatted animatedly, Clara's mind spun with possibilities. She glanced around the warm atmosphere, where women of all ages shared their laughter, hopes, and fears. But even as she looked at their faces, she felt the shadow of her own insecurities creeping back in, dimming her sense of achievement. Megan caught her eye again. It was in that moment Clara saw the hesitation lingering in Megan's smile. What had brought her here today, really? Were they on the same path, or was there an unspoken competition between them, hidden beneath layers of affection? The thought made her feel uneasy. She had to confront her own worries, her own doubts about their friendship and her purpose. "Hey, you okay?" One of the other women piped up, noticing Clara lost in thought. It was Julie, who had recently shared her own struggles with self-confidence. Clara appreciated her openness. Julie's sincerity reminded her that everyone had their battles. "Yeah, just thinking," Clara replied, forcing a smile. "Thinking about what?" Julie pressed gently. "About how far we've all come," Clara said, letting her vulnerability peek through. "And how much further we have to go." Julie tilted her head, sensing the weight of Clara's words. "You don't have to do this alone, you know. We're all on this journey together, remember?" Her words resonated within Clara. She had built this space for community and connection. But now, she needed to take a step further. How could she nurture not only her bakery but also the deeper relationships it had started to foster? Gradually, a sense of resolve began to wash over her. Clara needed to explore her voice, her dreams, not just for the bakery, but for herself. What if she hosted a series of workshops here? Workshops that delved into self-discovery and empowerment? The mere thought sparked a flicker of excitement within her. As her heart raced with this surge of enthusiasm, Clara turned to Megan, who now seemed at ease. chatting with some of the other women. Stepping closer, Clara realized this was the moment to share. She cleared her throat, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Megan, could we talk?" Megan turned, her eyes reflecting curiosity and a hint of concern. "Of course. What's on your mind?" "I have an idea," Clara began, her heart pounding as she articulated her thoughts. "I want to host workshops here, a space for us to explore our dreams and stories further. A way to empower each other beyond just bakery talk." Megan's face lit up instantly, but then she looked thoughtful. "That sounds amazing, Clara. But what about your story? What do you want to share?" The question caught Clara off guard. What did she really want to share? "Honestly, I'm still figuring it out," Clara admitted. "But I think sharing the journey will help me understand myself better. And maybe it can help others too." Megan nodded, a softness returning to her expression. "Then I'm all in. Let's turn this bakery into a movement, one where we can all lift each other up." "Your voice matters, Clara." Clara felt a rush of warmth spread through her, and in that moment, she realized the power of vulnerability. She wouldn't have to face this journey alone. She had a team behind her. As they organized for the workshops, Clara felt the weight of uncertainty lighten. Yet, there were still unanswered questions lurking in her mind. What fears would rise as she opened herself up? What facets of her story were waiting to be revealed? The celebration swirled around them, joyous and vibrant, but in the fray, a message was quietly embedded in her heart. The real magic lay in the stories that would be shared, not just the pastries baked. With a lingering sense of anticipation, Clara glanced at Megan, her heart pulsing with a mixture of hope and trepidation. Would their joint venture ignite a change in their own lives? What revelations awaited them on this path, and would Clara find not just her voice, but the purpose she longed for? The laughter echoed, but within Clara, a quiet storm brewed, the next chapter of their journey just beginning. What awaited them as they delved deeper into their shared stories? Clara couldn't shake the nervous thrill that danced in her stomach as she brainstormed ideas for the workshops. Each suggestion seemed to bubble up effortlessly, filled with potential, yet the fear of not being enough loomed large. Would they resonate with the very women she wanted to uplift? As she paced the back of the bakery, snippets of conversation drifted through the room. Laughter mixed with the clinking of coffee cups, the scent of cinnamon wafting softly around her. It was a comforting atmosphere, one where dreams bloomed, but Clara couldn't help but feel like a gardener unsure of how to tend her own budding vision. "Megan," Clara called out hesitantly, her voice rising above the chatter. She watched as Megan turned, her eyes bright with encouragement. "What do you think if we kick off the first workshop by sharing our stories? You know, where we've been and where we want to go?" Clara proposed, her heart racing at the thought. Megan nodded eagerly. "That's perfect. Sharing would make it so relatable. It will bring us all closer together. I can already feel the energy shifting." Clara smiled, but underneath it all, anxiety gripped her. There was a risk in asking women to open up, to lay bare their souls. What if they don't want to share? Or worse, what if they don't care? "You might be surprised," Megan replied, her tone soothing. "Women crave connection. You've built this safe space, they'll want to engage with it." Taking a deep breath, Clara absorbed Megan's confidence. It was a refreshing reminder that sometimes, vulnerability was the very thread that stitched communities together. As plans began to take shape, Clara felt a transformative excitement sweep over her. They decided on a date, set a theme for the first workshop, stories of resilience, and decorated the pink chalkboard sign that hung outside the bakery. The idea of sharing their stories began to feel like an adventure, one where all participants could emerge stronger. Days passed, and the date loomed closer. Clara posted about the workshop online, inviting women from the neighborhood, each post laced with a growing sense of hope. Yet, as the workshop time approached, her confidence began to waver. Doubt slithered in, whispering that she may not have the experience to lead such an endeavor. On the morning of the workshop, Clara stood behind the counter, her hands shaking as she arranged pastries. Her eyes flicked toward the clock. Late morning sun streamed through the bakery's windows, cloaking her in warmth, but the butterflies in her stomach felt like ice. Attendees began to trickle in, their faces bright with curiosity and excitement. Clara studied them, a mix of familiar and new faces, each carrying their own burdens silently. She could see the anticipation flickering in their eyes, and a swell of gratitude washed over her. "Welcome, everyone," she finally announced, her voice ringing out clearly as she loosened herself from her fears. "I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're not just sharing pastries, we're sharing pieces of ourselves." Megan stood beside her, beaming encouragement. Clara took a deep breath, tapping into that warm feeling from moments before. As the women settled at tables, sharing baked goods and stories, Clara noticed how their laughter intermingled like the aroma of freshly baked bread. Each word spoken was a thread weaving them tighter into a tapestry of resilience. She felt her own voice becoming stronger, infused with the courage of their shared experiences. But as stories unfolded, something unexpected flickered within Clara, an acknowledgement of her own journey. Meeting the eyes of the women around her sparked a profound realization. Perhaps her path didn't need to be clear and polished right this moment. Maybe it was enough to simply be with them, to share and grow together. As the workshop progressed, Clara noticed a tension easing within herself, yet a different question arose. What would she reveal about her own challenges? She had spoken about dreaming big, but there were pieces of her history she hadn't dared to share. The weight of those untold stories pressed heavily on her heart, yet a flicker of bravery ignited within. Would sharing that part of her journey truly open the door to closer connections? With a mix of hope and vulnerability, she decided. It was time. She would step into the light, revealing not just her successes but her struggles as well. The real heart of the workshop was just beginning. Clara looked around at the women seated before her, their supportive smiles igniting a spark of courage. Could this be the first step toward the deeper connections she craved? What would they discover about themselves and each other as they wove their stories together? As Clara prepared to share, she whispered softly to herself, "Let it be honest." Clara cleared her throat, feeling the words bubbling up within her, mixing with her apprehension. She could feel her heart race, echoing the unsteady rhythm of her thoughts. Would they really want to know? But as she glanced at Megan's encouraging smile and the curious faces surrounding her, she knew she had to try. "I want to share something personal with all of you," Clara began, her voice wavering slightly. "When I was younger, I struggled with self-doubt. I questioned every decision, every path I didn't take. I often felt invisible, like I was just drifting through life without a purpose." The room shifted, a hush settling over the group as they leaned in, drawn by her honesty. Clara continued, feeling the warmth of their energy wrap around her like a blanket. "I never expected to find my voice in this bakery. It became my sanctuary, a place where I could create and bake. But still, there were days when I felt like an imposter, wondering if any of this truly mattered." Silence enveloped them, filled with understanding. Clara could see that her struggles resonated. Behind the smiles and laughter, many had their own shadows of doubt and fear. "I want you to know," she continued, "that even though I'm here, sometimes I still feel that familiar voice whispering, 'You're not enough.' But that's why I started this workshop, not just for you, but for me too. To remind us all of the strength we have within and the importance of connection." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away. Before she could lose her nerve, she asked, "What is it that holds you back? What stories do you carry?" One by one, hands began to rise. Clara listened, each voice a testament of courage, each story a thread that pulled them together. There was laughter, pain, and healing, a blend of emotions that filled the bakery and spilled into the streets outside. Mary, a woman in her 50s, shared how she rediscovered her passion for painting after decades of raising her kids. I felt like I put myself on hold, she said, wiping away a few tears. But when I picked up the brush again, it felt like I was finally waking up. Nina, younger but equally fierce, spoke about facing her fears head-on, diving into a new job that scared her. Every day is a challenge, she admitted, but I remind myself that no one else can tell my story but me. A sense of camaraderie filled the room. Clara realized that in revealing her vulnerabilities, she had opened a doorway for others to do the same. They were sharing more than just stories, they were exchanging pieces of their souls, and with every shared word, that initial nervous thrill in her stomach transformed into a wave of empowerment. As the workshop drew near its end, Clara felt a mix of exhilaration and exhaustion. She had taken a leap, and it hadn't just been a personal victory, it was a collective uplift, a reminder that they were in this together. Yet, a small part of her hesitated. She felt like they had only scratched the surface, that there was more to be uncovered, deeper layers of pasts and experiences that lingered just below the surface. Would they continue to meet, to explore together? Just as she was about to wrap up, a voice from the back of the room piped up. "What about our next workshop? Can we keep this going? I want to dig deeper." Clara felt a rush of excitement and fear. Would they want to unveil more? What additional stories awaited them, just waiting to be told? She opened her mouth to reply, heart racing. Yes. Let us do this together, let us keep sharing. But as the workshop concluded and the women began to gather their things, Clara realized this was only the beginning of their journey. What would unfold in their future sessions? What truths would they uncover together? The stories that had just begun to emerge held the promise of deeper connections, and as Clara met the eyes of those gathered around her, she wondered how profoundly they might change, both individually and as a collective. Let us keep this conversation going, she breathed, feeling a swell of anticipation. What adventures would they discover in the next gathering? Clara awoke the next morning with the glow of possibility lighting her thoughts. The workshop had ignited something deep within her, the vulnerability they all shared felt like a spark, ready to catch fire. She brewed her coffee, the aroma filling her tiny kitchen, while her mind raced with ideas for the next gathering. What could they explore together? Her phone pinged as messages from the participants began pouring in. Each one expressed gratitude, excitement, and eagerness to continue. Clara's heart swelled. These weren't just women she had met, they had become part of a community, a lively, vibrant tapestry of stories and shared emotions. As she began jotting down her thoughts for the next session, she remembered what Nina had shared about confronting her fears. Clara wanted to dive into that theme headfirst. She pictured an afternoon filled with hands-on activities, where they could be challenged to face their comfort zones, surrounded by the warmth of freshly baked goods and the smell of cinnamon. The hours slipped away as she prepared for the workshop, filling baskets with flour, spices, and chocolate, but her mind wandered back to some of the deeper conversations from the previous night. Clara recalled Mary's emotional journey back to painting after years of self-imposed exile. It made her ponder the dreams and aspirations they had set aside in favor of responsibilities. What if they could all take a risk together, bake something extraordinary, or even create an art piece as a group? Clara's pulse quickened at the thought. She decided right then and there it was time to invite her fellow bakers into a different kind of expression. Later that afternoon, as the women gathered around the warmly lit tables, Clara felt a familiar thrill in the air. She began with a simple icebreaker, asking each of them to share their favorite childhood memory tied to food. Laughter erupted, stories flowed freely, and soon tears of nostalgia filled their eyes. As Clara felt the collective energy build, she introduced the idea of stepping outside their comfort zones. Today, she announced, we'll each pick a challenge. Let us face them together and support each other. The group exchanged uncertain glances, but the weight of their shared stories encouraged them. Clara proposed that they work in pairs to create a dish they had never attempted before. Some chose savory, while others decided to make elaborate desserts that seemed worlds apart from their usual baking. Amidst the flurry of flour dust clouds and the clicking of mixing bowls, Clara felt a deep connection burgeon in the room. But just as Clara began to feel that sense of joy and accomplishment, a sudden crash caused everyone to freeze. One of the shelves had toppled, knocking over bowls and utensils. A thick silence descended, followed by a collective gasp. Clara's heartbeat pounded in her ears. She rushed over, heart racing, faced with the possibility of chaos derailing their day. But just then, Nina stepped up. "It's okay. We can clean this up together. Like we're facing our fears, let us tackle this hurdle as a team." The word sparked something in Clara. They had just gone through a whirlwind of emotions. They had faced their vulnerabilities and come out stronger together. And as they worked together to restore order, Clara realized that humor was the best remedy. "What's our new recipe for success?" she joked, eliciting chuckles. "A sprinkle of resilience, a dash of courage, and a whole lot of love." As laughter filled the space, Clara took a step back, feeling the warmth of camaraderie envelop her. She couldn't help but think how each moment they spent together was crafting a beautiful story, one that they could all own and share. But as the day wound down and they sat down to taste their creations, she felt a familiar flutter of unease. What hidden challenges lay beneath the surface yet to be uncovered? What deeper fears were still waiting? The laughter dimmed slightly, and she sensed a lingering tension in the air. What if we dared to explore even more about ourselves? Clara's voice was soft but firm. Could they uncover pieces of themselves that had long been tucked away? The gathering of smiles turned contemplative, each woman reflecting on the depths yet to be revealed. What would they discover in their next meeting? What would emerge from the hidden corners of their pasts that still held them back? The next meeting began with an air of cautious excitement. Clara watched as the women filtered into the cozy space, each carrying their own set of expectations and fears. They seemed slightly more tentative this time, and Clara could sense that something had shifted. It was as if the anticipation of revealing deeper truths had both electrified and frightened them. "Welcome back, everyone. I'm so glad to see all of your smiling faces," Clara opened, her voice warm yet invigorating. "Today is about diving deeper. We'll explore the things that hold us back. I want us to think of this as an adventure, a journey where we're all in it together." She observed how some women exchanged hesitant glances, their expressions a mix of curiosity and anxiety. She felt the weight of their unspoken fears but also the spark of shared understanding. After the incidents of their last meeting, it had become clear that they weren't just here to bake, they were here to heal. Clara introduced a simple yet powerful exercise. "Let us each share one fear or limiting belief that we'd like to let go of. And then, let us support each other as we address them. We'll write them down and burn them as a symbol of release." She grabbed a few sheets of paper and pens and started passing them around. Everyone became engrossed, scribbling down their inner conflicts. Clara could see their brows furrowed, lips pressed into determined lines. She understood, as she too had her fears. The thought crept in, would they be able to transform this collective vulnerability into courage? When they gathered again, Clara initiated the sharing. One by one, they opened up. Nina spoke about her fear of being judged. Mary talked about her reluctance to express herself, fearing no one would understand her art. Slowly, other voices chimed in, revealing hidden anxieties about their choices, relationships, and dreams. Clara listened intently, her heart ached for each story, yet her admiration soared. As the last woman spoke, an electric atmosphere filled the room. "Now, it's time to release these fears," Clara said, her tone husky with emotion. She gathered the crumpled papers in a basket and led the group outside, to a small fire pit they had prepared. Under the vast open sky, she lit the papers as each woman gasped in surprise. They watched as the flames flickered and danced, consuming the words that had weighed so heavily on their hearts. "I want you to visualize releasing these fears as you watch them burn," Clara encouraged. "Let the flames take away anything that does not serve you." Tears glimmered in some of their eyes, but empowerment embraced others. Clara felt a surge of unity amongst them. They were transforming the very air around them. Just as one final page turned to ash, a strong gust of wind swirled through the gathering, sending warmth and energy surging through their open hearts. Clara surrendered herself to the moment. A renewed sense of purpose filled the air. They moved back inside, where they concocted a surprise dessert together, bound by the acceptance of their vulnerabilities. Laughter and playful banter echoed, but Clara noticed a surprising truth: their creations were increasingly intricate and bold. As she sampled one woman's dulce de leche pie, Clara couldn't shake the thought of the journey they had begun. Yet, amid the laughter, a question lingered in her heart. Could we dive even deeper next time? She pondered softly. What greater truths awaited on the horizon, hidden just beneath the layers of their shared experiences? She could feel the pull of uncharted territory ahead, an opportunity for breakthrough, and she felt both exhilarated and a bit fearful. What would they discover when they went even further? Clara took a breath, the connection around her crackling. Next time, let us explore what we love and how to embrace it. Would they have the courage to share their passions and dreams? Or would old patterns grip them once again? Only time would tell. As Clara stood at the entrance of her bakery, the sun hung golden in the sky, casting a warm glow over Maplewood. Her heart raced with anticipation for the upcoming workshop. Today wasn't just about baked goods, it was about digging deep, about passion, and about celebrating what made them who they are. The aroma of fresh pastries wafted around her, creating a comforting embrace that she had come to adore. Today will be special, she whispered to herself, determination swelling within her. She envisioned the women arriving, not just as attendees but as fellow travelers on this journey of self-discovery. As the participants trickled in, Clara greeted each one warmly, feeling the familiar bond grow stronger. Laughter and excitement filled the air. They settled around the tables adorned with colorful cloths and sweet treats, bringing life to the space she had created. Clara felt a surge of pride. Welcome, everyone. Today, we'll be exploring what we love. Let us remind ourselves of our passions and reclaim those dreams that fuels our spirit. Clara's voice rang out with clarity, igniting a spark of enthusiasm among the women. Nervous energy buzzed as she handed them slips of paper. Let us write down our passions. What sets your heart on fire? They scribbled, smiles spreading across their faces as they shared snippets of their inspiration. Memories floated to the surface. Some had loved to paint, others had a passion for singing, and many simply wanted to adventure into new territory, reigniting flames left dimmed. As each woman spoke about their dreams, Clara listened intently. Their stories danced like vibrant pastries in the oven, each unique, each special. Clara felt transformed by their honesty. Yet, underneath their exuberance, she recognized the lurking hesitation in their voices, past fears trying to weave back in, just beneath the surface. Let us do something brave together, Clara proposed, her heart pounding with excitement. I want each of you to pick one thing you can do this week to pursue your passion. It could be singing in the shower or painting a canvas, but let us commit to it here. The room buzzed with anticipation, the air heavy with vulnerability and hope. Women exchanged ideas, hearts swelling with newfound courage. Clara caught Megan's eye, and they shared a knowing glance. Clara felt a bond between them deepening, a shared responsibility to uplift one another, but just as the laughter reached a crescendo, a familiar heaviness seeped back in. Clara felt a chill as whispers of self-doubt began to swirl in her mind. What am I doing? Can I truly lead this? In a moment of open vulnerability, Clara decided to share her journey again, how she too battled with uncertainty, given into doubt far too long, how she had felt invisible before she found her voice. Sometimes, she spoke slowly, it takes getting lost to truly find yourself. In these moments of self-doubt, I want you to remember your passion, allow it to shine brighter than any fear. We can't let the old patterns dictate our destiny. Tears glistened in the eyes of her friends, hearts resonating with empathy. They had faced their battles, and now they stood united. Hand in hand, Clara felt their strength empower her. Let us take a moment to visualize what our passions look like. Clara began, leading a short meditation filled with hope and visualization. They closed their eyes, images floating in their minds. Clara's own vision swirled vividly, her bakery blossoming with creativity, not just as a business, but as a heart-centered haven. Women discovering parts of themselves they thought were lost, rising like the dough she had kneaded countless times. When they opened their eyes, not a single woman remained unchanged. It was palpable, the shift around her, the air thick with dreams on the cusp of taking flight. "Who's ready to take their step this week?" Clara asked, heart pounding with anticipation. Hands enthusiastically shot into the air, faces glowing with eagerness. As they broke into smaller groups, Clara felt herself step back, basking in the warmth of their connection. This wasn't just her creation, it was a community, a system of support where laughter and tears mingled harmoniously. Hours flew by, each moment infused with love, laughter, and excitement. Women exchanged contact information, pledging to meet and encourage one another as they stepped towards their passions. Clara felt her heart swell with gratitude. They were rising together, like dough left to rise by the warmth of their connection. As the event drew to a close, Clara stood amidst a cascade of joy. The bakery had become a sanctuary, a home for dreams, an incubator for possibility. She reached out, her hands brushing against Megan's. "I couldn't have done this without you. You believed when I couldn't," she whispered, emotions washing over them both. Clara realized the waves of courage they had built together would eternally echo through Maplewood. They were more than just a group of women sharing space, they had become each other's lifeline, a sisterhood forged through shared stories and laughter. With a heart bursting with hope, Clara decided in that moment to commit fully to her own journey. She stepped forward, ready to embrace both personal and community dreams, knowing they would walk this transformative path together. They were no longer confined by the fears of their past, they had opened a gateway to the boundless futures awaiting each of them. As they exited the bakery, arms wrapped around one another, Clara felt lighter, the vibrant energy of change cutting through her worries. This was it, her rebirth as an entrepreneur, as a woman ready to embrace her full self. And this is just the beginning, Clara thought to herself. The promise of exploration sparkled in the air because the truth was, embracing their passions was only the first step into the lives they had always wanted. With renewed spirit, she knew they could conquer the world together, going beyond simple pastries, a movement fueled by love, courage, and sisterhood. And at that moment, she embraced the journey ahead, unfolding, exploring, and rewriting the narratives that defined them. So, what are you waiting for? It's time to step out, chase your passions, and forge connections that could change your life. Join us on this incredible journey. It's your turn to embrace transformation. If you haven't already, you need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next inspiring stories that could ignite your own passion. Leave a like to feed the algorithm and spread this wave of empowerment to others. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this transformative journey. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see the power of dreaming together. Don't wait not even one more second, let us build this community together.